Hi folks, and welcome to another episode of Careers and Coffee. So today I'm so pleased to welcome Cathy Frost, who owns Love One. It's a shop in Ipswich. She's going to be talking to us a little bit more about the high street, her career, skills in terms of being self-employed. So let's bring Cathy on to talk to us a little bit more about that. Cathy, welcome. How are you?
Afternoon. Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Fantastic. Good stuff.
Afternoon.
Now, before we kick off, as I ask all guests as of Tuesday, have you got coffee in hand or hot beverage?
I have. You've even got my initials, so I don't forget who I am.
Oh, this is on the book. On the first week, Careers and Coffee. People are on it. This is what we like. Now, why don't you tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Okay, so I'm Cathy. I have owned my business, Love One, for 13 years. In fact, it will be 14 in November. Right. It's been, you can imagine, a bit of an interesting journey. I didn't start as a retailer. I started life after uni. I became an environmental health officer. So I was in local government for about 10 or 11 years, decided to jump ship for various reasons and retrained as an interior designer. I kind of followed my heart instead of my kind of what I was good at on paper. And I, from various little jobs through that, so I set up my own business doing interiors and making soft furnishings. I got involved with kitchen design. From kitchen design, I got involved with products, so buying products for showrooms and dressing room sets, and realised that I liked shopping and I was good at it and I could kind of turn it into something more of a career. And in 2007, we opened the doors on Love One in Ipswich. So if you know Ipswich, it's I'm based in the Saints area of town, which is the bit between the town and the waterfront. It's becoming an area really kind of synonymous with independent shopping. We've got some really quirky little boutiques and coffee shops, and Jordan's nodding his head. I'm sure he's very familiar with it. And it's a really nice part of Ipswich, actually. And so I've been there for 13 years. I've changed direction several times to really respond to what was happening around me. Retail has changed over certainly the last 13 years. So I've responded to that. So started really as an interior shop. And then in the crash of 2009 and 10, which was the last recession, we kind of changed into a gift shop. I then got involved with lots of local artists and designers because I kind of went back to what was happening around me. There was a lot of markets happening at that point around the country, especially in London and Liverpool and Manchester. And I then got involved with running street markets. So as part of the regeneration of the area I'm in, we were running the street markets twice a year. I've done pop-ups with people, so we've been kind of incubator spaces for people. Worked with lots of kind of young entrepreneurs and old entrepreneurs, actually, any age, who kind of want to make turn a hobby or an idea into something commercial. So that's kind of in a nutshell where we are. Last year I went online, so we now have an online shop. We do a lot on social media. So I am now an omni-channel retailer.
That sounds fantastic.
Current buzzword.
And what has the last 12 months been like for you as a high street shop?
So obviously for half the year we've been shut, and for bricks and mortar, I'm quite an old school retailer. I want to be on the high street. I fought the online side for many years, and it has been hard. I mean, it's been hard for a lot of us who like to give good customer service and be front facing and be part of a community. That has been really tough. And I think there's been a financial element, but also the mental element, of seeing my business kind of almost disappear through no fault of my own. And that's really tough. And I think one of the things about being self-employed, it doesn't matter whatever business you are in, this need to dig deep, this quality of being quite tenacious, so don't give up, is really important. You've got to have a lot of energy and a lot of drive to kind of keep yourself going. So it's been tough, on many levels. And I've learned a lot about myself. I thought I'd learned a lot about myself in the last recession, and I've had to dig deep again in this one. But I've come out with I think, a much more positive attitude towards my own business. I think I've kind of really had time. I've tried to be positive about this lockdown in that I've had time, and time is something as a self-employed person you often have very little of. So I've used the time to really think about the business, where it's going and what the challenges are, because retail has changed, and which is not a surprise. We knew this was going to happen. The pandemic has accelerated it by about 5 years. So we knew this was happening pre-pandemic, but it's accelerated it. So I've had a chance to kind of really think about where I want to take my own business, and our street markets and all that other stuff that I do. So
that's great. Thank you, Cathy. And yeah, what was it? So was it Monday? Yeah, as of Monday last
Monday.
week. Where are we? What was it like welcoming your first customers back?
A little bit scary, if I'm honest. It felt like, bearing in mind I hadn't done a kind of a whole day's work since Christmas Eve. Although I'd been working behind the scenes, I hadn't actually been behind my desk, my counter. It felt a bit like the first day back at school, kind of that, after some holidays where you're a bit like, oh, I really want to see my friends, but I'm a bit scared about going back. It was a little bit like that, I have to say. But what a great day. It was like Christmas all over again, and it was almost a party atmosphere. The bunting was up in the street. People were really out to go shopping. They really wanted to come out, support us as a community of businesses, not just me. They were queuing outside Applaud Coffee. If any of your audience know Applaud Coffee, great local coffee shop, and I had people waiting outside as well. So it felt really good. It felt really good to be back doing what we all want to do, and it's very simple. We want to work. So it was really good feeling to be back.
Good stuff. And how important has a strong business community been to you, into just sort of mentally, and also getting back in there? Because the Saints, and I think generally Ipswich and Suffolk is a great business community, but I know that the Saints, you're quite a tight-knit group. How important has that been?
Really crucial, and I think I realised this in the last crash in 10 or so years ago, that I am only as good as the community I'm in. It doesn't matter how good my business is. I am part of a group of businesses, and the way retail is moving, the way our high streets and our urban centres are moving, people want a range of things. They're not just looking for retail. They're not just looking for a cup of coffee. It's an all-round experience. So the community, of whatever kind of community you have, is going to be even more important going forward. And in the dark days, when we were not sure when we were going to see an end to this, and would we open, and would we get our grant from the government, the fact that I had at least 10 other businesses that I could send an email or a WhatsApp message and just say, how are you doing? Have you got your grant yet? How are you doing that? And when are you going to open? It like any friendship group, your support group. And again, one thing I would say about being in business, it doesn't matter what business you're in, that support network is really important to you, because you do have some dark days, and you can't do it on your own. You shouldn't do it on your own. You need that. And so that for me has been a real help. And when we all opened, and to see, everyone smiling, and it was just great, actually. I really, it's like a little family. So yeah, it was good.
Brilliant. Thank you. And I want to talk a little bit more about skills in the world of work now. So what are some of the key skills that you need to be self-employed and run a retail shop?
Well, I think first and foremost, you need a lot of energy. So it's not a 9 to 5. It is perceived as 9 to 5, but actually, when the doors aren't open, you are doing all the other stuff. So whether that's cleaning, or whether getting a cleaner in, or whether it's organising your accounts, or your ordering, or your social media, or dealing with your online stuff, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So it's not just the 9 to 5 job. I don't really feel I'm ever not thinking about it. So you've got to have passion. You've got to have passion. You've got to, because people are in retail as well, and hospitality, people are buying from you. You are the brand. especially in the early days of a brand. So you've got to have passion, otherwise people can see through it. You've got to be tenacious. I've used that word before. It's about not giving up. You know, a lot of people kind of said to me, "Don't bother. Why are you doing that? It's not worth it. No one wants to go shopping." Yeah. And I'm like, no, actually, I think they do. Yes, it's changing. We've got to adapt. So you've got to be quite tenacious. You've got to be prepared to stick at it. And you've got to like people. You've really got to like people. It's very much about, it's not just serving people. It's about chatting to people. It's about being the community and being welcoming. So you've got to like people in all their in all the good and bad. And I said you've got to have maybe a flair. I don't know if you've been necessarily creative, depends what the business is, but you've got to know your stuff. So you can learn a lot. You can learn a lot of stuff, but it's good to be open to new experiences and learning from people around you at whatever age they are. I mean, I learn all the time from the many young people I have in my life around me who are starting out and creating. So I think it's being open-minded as well and giving it a go. Don't be afraid. I think we all can be a bit like, oh, out of my comfort zone. And some of the best things I've ever done is when I've kind of stepped out of my comfort zone and had a go.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Cathy. And we just got a question in. So what do you think is the key to keeping the high street alive or even rejuvenating retail, as it's an industry that many young people start their careers in? Good question.
Well, good point, because my first job was in a florist shop. So I was a Saturday girl in a florist shop. I then progressed to C&A, which you probably don't know what C&A is. I think it's still there. It's a clothing retailer. Yeah, the high street. So the high street means different things now to people. The key, I believe, is variety, and it's a hybrid of businesses. So it's not just about retail anymore. It's about experiences. So it's, for example, I use the Saints again. It's a mixed high street. It's not all about retail. On our high street, we have retailers, we've got beauty therapists, we've got barbers, we've got a dentist, we've got an accountant, we've got coffee, we've got pizza, we've got vegan cafe, we've got a bridal shop, a pub. I'll stop there. It's about variety, and people want an all-round experience, and they want to be able to use digital. Ipswich is now looking at this 15-minute connected town centre to use digital technology to drive that experience. So you guys, being a lot younger than me, are so used to using apps on your phone for all sorts of things. So you want to know, when you come into town, where is it safe to park? What time are the buses? When's the train leaving? What's open? What's on? Who's doing that? What special offers are there? It's giving you an all-rounded package, and it's making our towns and cities safe and accessible and interesting and exciting, and events. I want to see more events in our town, and I want to see a lot of cultural groups and community groups getting access to our public spaces, so that young people can get out there and express themselves and try their hand at stuff. And the markets were driven by that we do to kind of hothouse people at whatever age they are to try. I started my business on a street market where I took a load of products and I just kind of tested the water. And I think that's the key for a lot of people, whether they're young or old. If they've got an idea, is the high street's got to have places where people can try before they buy, try before they get a bricks and mortar business or even online business. So I think, in answer to that question, it's about a hybrid. It's going to be about mixing it up and being more than just one thing. It's not going to be one thing anymore.
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting take. If anything, you want to sort of pick up the Saints model and try to replicate that on just a slightly larger scale, because as you say, there's that variety that you can go for a coffee, grab a pizza, do some shopping, pop
have your haircut.
Have your hair cut, grab some flowers, all of those sorts of things. So I think that's quite an interesting, really interesting model. I also want to talk a little bit more about sort of generally Norfolk and Suffolk as well. Why do you think it's such a great place to start a business?
Well, I'm not from Suffolk originally, so I grew up in London and I went to university in Hertfordshire. I married someone from Ipswich, which is why I ended up in Suffolk. But since I've been here, I've kind of realised that in terms of placement, we are on a good day in Ipswich, for example, only an hour from London on a good day. Yeah. The trains are those hour trains. So in terms of accessibility, I can have a quality of life here that city life wouldn't necessarily give me. I can access the coast, the countryside, an urban environment and be near cities, and I'm only 40 minutes from Norwich or Cambridge, which is great. And I think in terms of business, there is space. I think there is space to grow here. I kind of feel there is support for business here as well. I know the New Anglia Lep does a lot with business startups, etc. So I feel that there is time and there's a bit of space here, which, talking to maybe friends and colleagues in other parts of the country who are in maybe more city environments, maybe there's not that time or space. It's quite friendly. I mean, I being a Londoner coming in here, I thought, well, people are going to be a bit, but they're not. They're really been really friendly, and I think this part of the world is used to having people coming from all over the world, and we are. If you think about it, we are closer to Europe than we are to bits of our own country in terms of as the crow flies. So we've always been an area where we've had people coming in, certainly from Europe or near Europe. So I think there's that variety of people and the variety of experience. So yeah, it's a good place to have a business.
That was a good shout out, like that. Okay, another question. So how do you decide on what products you are stocking in your shop, and do you follow trends or just go with personal likes?
Oh, that's a really tricky one. A bit of both, actually, because I made some mistakes in the early days where I bought what I liked. I soon found out that what I liked was possibly not what the Ipswich buying public was kind of either ready for or really liked themselves. So I've learned over the years to kind of, social media helps actually in the last few years, because I've been able to kind of see what other people are buying and selling and what people are looking at, and trends. You can spot trends a lot quicker on social media than you used to be able to do. So I kind of, a bit of both. A lot of it's done on gut feeling actually, and I think it's what works, what works together. So I might buy one product and then I think I really like that product, what would go with it? So I then source products that may be similar colour or similar vibe, or it just works. I mean, at the moment we have done a collaboration with Emma's Florist. So our local florists had to sadly close at Christmas. I've now taken on her houseplant range, so I'm doing a collaboration with her. That has meant I've kind of gone into more homeware around houseplants, conservatory, living. Being a plant parent is quite in at the moment, and so that is a trend. But it's a lovely trend. It's Earth Day today, so why not have more plants in our lives? So yeah, I do look at trends, but I do try and one thing I've learned through lockdown is if you buy too much with a trend, you can come unstuck, because I've lost a season. I've lost the kind of spring season because of lockdown. So if I'd bought a lot of very trend driven stuff before Christmas, I could have ended up, coming a bit unstuck. So I've kind of learned a bit of everything actually. I don't just go with one particular scenario. I kind of try and mix and match, and maybe that's why it's kind of been successful, is because it always looks a bit fresh. We're always buying, and people find me. So a lot of designers now find me on Instagram and send me their work, and so it's kind of, I don't even got to leave my my iPad. It comes to me now, which is lovely actually. And I look at it and think, well, that could work with that, or that might not work. But I always give feedback. I do really try to give people feedback, because although it's not right for me or my business, I always try and give some feedback to people, because I think just being told no, we're not interested, isn't really good enough. I think people need to know that in the real world, your product may not suit every environment, because we all think what we do is the best. I think it's good to get some positive feedback. So I do try and feed that back.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Cathy. And in 30 seconds, can you give some advice to a young person who's maybe thinking, okay, I don't want to maybe go down a more traditional route. I want to be self-employed. I want to have my own shop on the high street, or digital platform, or whatever that might be. What's your advice to them?
First thing is research. Do your research. Get your idea. Get a strong idea, and then do your research. Find out who's doing it, how they're doing it, what they're charging, what their price point is. Are they bricks and mortar? Who's your competition? That's the first thing. If you have a product, see if you can do a pop-up. See if you can have a market stall. Test your product, or test whatever it is you're doing. Don't go full pelt and get a rental on something. There's a lot of people now doing incubator spaces, so try and get an incubator space somewhere. Look for help, look for guidance. New Anglia Let, Growth Hub, people like that. There's a lot of people out there. Talk to people. Come and talk to people like me. Make a contact on social media. If you like a shop, if you like a creator, or you like a designer, strike up a conversation, pick their brain. All they could say is, no, sorry, I'm not going to help you. If they do, well, fine, but there's lots of other people. So I think research, try and get some experience. Don't be put off. People will tell you no. Just keep going. Maybe fine tune what you do, but ask for advice, and look for somewhere where you can pop up and try your product or your service. I think that's really key.
Cathy, that was brilliant. That was fantastic advice. And yeah, thank you so much. I've learned lots in this call, lots of stuff I didn't know before. So huge thank you for joining us on Careers and Coffee today.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Cathy. So folks, that was Cathy Frost, owner of Love One, sharing her tips and tricks around being self-employed, owning a retail store, and also all the challenges that have come with COVID during the last 12 months. So huge thank you to Cathy for joining us on Careers and Coffee today. So tune in next week, again, same times, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4:30, 20 minutes with some fantastic guests. So we look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks.